we finally get to the goalkeeping position, a necessary evil when it comes to goalkeepers, but they will save your ass. And we have certainly had times in the past from a U.S. men's national team perspective in World Cups where having a good goalkeeper has gotten us point or kept us in games, or in the case of Tim Howard, for example, come up with a historic performance even in a loss. So here are the men in our group right now that we think are potentially going to be part of what we think is going to be 3 goalkeepers. Keep in mind, again, it's 26 players in the roster here. I haven't heard any team say that they are going to go with 4 goalkeepers. I still think it's going to be 3, and that I don't think that that's crazy. All right, Zack Steffen, Matt Turner, Sean Johnson, Ethan Horvath, and we've thrown in Gaga Slonina just to kind of actually expand the conversation. All right, Mosse, I don't think that you and I necessarily differ here, and I don't think there's a lot of people that differ here when it comes to Zack Steffen and Matt Turner are both going. They are on the plane. I don't think it's even a question. They have been back and forth, the starters with this national team, and I think that Matt Turner is going to start, even though, as we mentioned, he has been recently sidelined with a groin injury. But I do think that ultimately he is going to be the starter. So any problems with Matt Turner or Zack Steffen?
No, I do.
What?
I think Matt Turner should definitely be the starter. You think Matt Turner should definitely be the starter. Just about every U.S. fan I talk to thinks the same. I do wonder if Gregg Berhalter, do you think 100% he's on that page?
No, I don't think 100% at all. I think that he has a soft spot in his heart for Zack Steffen. I think that he follows his own path. And like we said last show, it's not that he doesn't hear what is going on, but almost hearing a differing opinion can almost, bolster your belief that you are making the right decision. Look, I don't think that between Zack Steffen and Matt Turner there is that great a difference, other than I think Matt Turner is a better shot stopper. Okay, Zack Steffen may indeed be better with his feet, but I think he risks more, and I don't think he is as good a shot stopper. We know about the injuries that Zack Steffen has had over the last couple of years, but if everything is equal and everybody is healthy, when I talk about the equality there, it would not surprise me in the least if Gregg Berhalter turns to a guy that he just seems to favor in Zack Steffen, in particular because of the way that he plays. And I do think that Gregg Berhalter not only wants to be successful in the World Cup, but how he is successful is actually important to him. And implementing the system that he has, tried over this cycle to implement, I think is important to him. And having players out there that play in the way that he has set out, I think if to the extent that he can facilitate that, he's going to go with the players that he thinks is going to do it. And I do think that he thinks Zack Steffen is better suited to doing that.
Steffen this season has been playing fairly regularly for Middlesbrough in the championship. His form has been kind of up and down. Well, Turner, we know there's been a lot of talk about his inactivity. I will say we're taping this on a Wednesday. This podcast drops on Thursday. Tomorrow, Arsenal have a Europa League game. I have not seen what his status is for that. You would hope that he'd be able to play in this game. Arsenal then have a League Cup game the following week against Brighton. If he were to play in these 2 games, it would be 6 starts for Arsenal this season, and then the 2 he made for the U.S. in the September window. 8 games. That's not so bad. For all the talk about his supposed inactivity, just to put that in perspective by using another CONCACAF team, Keylor Navas hasn't played for PSG since May. The only match he's played over that span is that intercontinental playoff against New Zealand for Costa Rica. So that's a country that really has to worry about goalkeeper inactivity. I don't find Turner's workload this season to be that bad going into a World Cup.
In my assessment of who to play, it has nothing to do with who's playing, to be quite honest with you, for goalkeepers specifically, okay? And it's not that they can't be in form or I wouldn't rather that they're playing, but my determination when it comes to Matt Turner over Zack Steffen has nothing to do with how many games that they ultimately played. All right, number 3, I think it's Sean Johnson on the plane. Any disagreement there? And by the way, if it's all about playing, Mosse, then Sean Johnson should be starting for the U.S.
Yeah, so we've established Steffen and Turner are locks, and then these 3 guys are fighting for that last spot, and you think Sean Johnson is the clear leader. So between
Sean Johnson, Ethan Horvath, and like we said, we put in Gaga Slonina because I think he will be involved. I just don't think it's going to be happening here. And there was a point where we've been talking about, because it's a 26-man roster, do you, even with the U.S., I mean, that's one thing if you're Brazil and doing this, but even with the U.S., say, hey, we're going to bring somebody that is just there for the experience, that we know is going to be involved in that next cycle, and maybe just being there and, blooding them in that time. And that would be a Gaga type of situation. But I don't think that is happening. I don't think that Gregg Berhalter is, nor should he be thinking about 2026 right now. His job is 2022, and who knows if he'll be around even for 2026. So yeah, it would be between Sean Johnson and Ethan Horvath out there for a lot of people that are thinking about this. I would go with Sean Johnson. I think that Gregg Berhalter is going to go with Sean Johnson.
Yeah, Horvath playing for Luton Town in the championship. Johnson obviously coming off a very strong season with NYCFC. He had 14 clean sheets, second only to Andre Blake, who had 15. Yeah, I agree with you. I would strongly lean Johnson for that third spot.
And look, Horvath has done well when he's been with the national team. I think he has, by all accounts, there's nothing bad in terms of what he has done or the way that he has come across to this group. So he is definitely in the conversation. But I just think that, and also, Sean Johnson's been around, 33. He would be maybe even the oldest player on the team when it comes to this team that's very, very young. But if you ever talk to Sean Johnson, he has this incredibly calm demeanor, very mature in the way that he thinks about the game, the way that he thinks about life. And while part of me wants to fully lean into everybody being young, I think that having someone like Sean Johnson as the voice of reason, if you will, because this young group is going to need somebody at some point that is going to be able to step up and say, hey, this is where we need to go, or this is why we shouldn't do this, or hey, this is not okay. And I think that Sean Johnson can be that voice of reason and maturity that this team has very little of. And then you don't think the Gaga thing is going to happen, right?
No.
Okay, well, we put it in there anyway, just to make it a little more interesting. All right, anything else goalkeeper-wise, Mosse?
That is it.
Well, let me ask you one thing. We remember in history the incredible game that Tim Howard had. Do you think that at some point, whoever is in goal ultimately here is going to have one of those games?
I think Matt Turner is absolutely capable. He's that good as a shot stopper. I could see him winning a game in this World Cup for the U.S. that the U.S. has no business winning, that they get totally outplayed.
Well, people forget that the U.S. lost the game that Tim Howard was so great in. So I would want whoever it is, whether it's Matt Turner or somebody else, to have a equal in terms of impact, but more importantly, to win the game.
And I will say, I might upset some people here, but I am not a Zack Steffen fan. So to me, he's the other extreme for me, where he might lose you a game with a mistake.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure it comes down to goalkeeping, famous last words. If it does, that would be a pity, especially given our history of goalkeeping prowess when it comes to the U.S. team.
You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops every week. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops twice a week right here on my very own YouTube page. The only way to stay up to date is to hit that subscribe button down below. Size the day, and see you soon.